All right, everybody, welcome in a special live coverage edition of the big Brewers news tonight. Hunter here, along with Tim Allen, of course, host of our baseball postgame show.
Wow.
And wow, Tim,
Yeah.
wow.
Wow.
That's the
Wow.
reaction, isn't it?
Well, you know what? I had a nice dinner with my son tonight. I thought it was going to be a chill out Thursday night. I came back home. I was watching MLB Network's top 10 relievers right now is what they had on, and seeing Devin Williams come in at number 4, and then my phone started blowing up, and I'm like, well, I'm going to hit ignore. I didn't want to, deal with anything. Just hit the off button. And well, then it kept blowing up. And Pipe Bomb was actually the one that called me. And I thought, I don't want to do this to Jeff. So I picked it up. And as soon as I picked it up, I said, Jeff, why is my phone blowing up? I was afraid. And he's like, yeah, Burnes. I'm like, really? Where? Just don't tell me Cubs. Just don't tell me Cubs. And it turned out Baltimore Orioles, and which is really interesting. And I guess we'll talk about it all over the iHeartRadio app and on 97.3 The Game in Milwaukee, starting with Zabe in the morning tomorrow. But my goodness, this was a big tug of war, Hunter. As you know, you and I have discussed it. Big tug of war. When do you move Burnes? Do you let him walk without getting anything? And what's puzzling though is why the Rhys Hoskins signing, and then to remove Burnes. That's a little head scratching. That's going to be the debate.
Oh, 100%. That is going to be what everybody looks at as, okay, it looked like you were going to go all in competing this season, right? With the last year of Burnes on the contract. And you kept Willie, you kept Burnes, you kept everybody in going into this season, and then you added the top first baseman on the market in Rhys Hoskins and spent a fair amount of money to do so to solidify that first base position, which excites everybody. And then you go 4 or 5 days later and trade away the ace. So it's the balancing act that we've seen, but this is not new, Tim, as we just talked about on the phone a couple of minutes ago. It's the balancing act that this organization has continued and has really done well for the last, they've made the playoffs a bunch of times. And I know it hasn't netted them a championship, but they've been competitive for so long because they've been able to do, make a trade for the future here, make a deal for the present now. And they've been able to do that balance pretty well and keep competitive. This one was within a week, so it kind of jars the system a little more.
Well, and within the conversation, you have to. I mean, you have to sort of stay patient a little bit with trades, and I understand that. Remember the Trent Grisham deal, and that was going back and forth. Zach Davies and Trent Grisham head over. And you get Lauer and you get Luis Urias. And that trade, if you think back a couple of years ago, that trade went back and forth as to who won that deal, who won that trade.
Sure.
You look back at the Josh Hader deal and you say, oh my goodness, the sky is falling, right? And you say, what did you get? You should have maybe gotten more. And it tore the clubhouse apart a little bit, according to a lot of reports. But then you turn around and you say, well, let's measure that Hader deal. Were you going to let him walk to get nothing? And in return, you essentially ended up with William Contreras in team control for 5 years. So, I'm trying to show some patience here and keep my feet on the ground here. Initially, can you call this, Hunter? Can you call this a haul for Corbin Burnes? Don't know. He's Joey Ortiz, the 63rd ranked prospect in all of baseball, and that puts 5 now in the top 100 for the Brewers, which is nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, that's a really, really good young core, and that's a lot of prospect capital. There's no question about that. But can you define this move as a haul? I'm not sure you can.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know a lot of people wanted to get more for Corbin Burnes probably. Now, like you said, these trades, you don't know what's gonna happen down the road. That's the tough part of this is, these are two good baseball players for sure. And the draft pick is good at 34th overall, but I think it's going to be a wait and see a little bit. Our guy Pipe Bomb has joined us here inside the studio, and Jeff, your initial reaction?
I like it. I think it's good that we got what we could for a guy who's got one more year, no chance of returning. He's got Satan as his agent, so there's no chance that he was coming back. We got what we could. I like the pick as well as a throw in, and we'll see. They've got to make another move, get another starter. Matt Arnold did say in the presser that Aaron Ashby is expected to be a full go as of day one in spring training. So we'll see what he can bring. But I'm for it. I'm for it. I like this trade.
Jeff, you were talking about how Burnes, you had 1 year left of him. This was the quote from Matt Arnold that Kurt Hogue tweeted out. He said, look, at any time, this is from Matt Arnold, look, at any time you trade a guy like Corbin, it's always a difficult decision. I think the overarching theme here is that we're excited about the players we're getting back. And the reality of our situation is that we had 1 year left with Corbin. I think Corbin had been pretty public about how this was going to be his last year as a Brewer. And so we felt like the opportunity to help our team right now with players like DL Hall, who was outstanding in the playoffs last year for the Orioles, is very young and major league ready. Joey Ortiz, who we liked a lot, and a late first-round pick, is a very well-balanced and exciting deal for us. So he said it's always tough. I've had to do this a number of times throughout my career to trade really good players. I understand that comes with some pain. This is not an easy decision for us, but I think the opportunity to help our major league team right now and also in the future is something that's actually really exciting.
No, and I get that, guys. I completely understand that because that's the market that you're in. You're going to have to play these sort of juggling balls in the air kind of situations with stud players because, as Jeff said, there's no chance he was going to re-sign with Milwaukee. Milwaukee was not going to pony up $150 million, $200 million deal for Corbin Burnes, which is what he's going to get. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, my deal was this, is that I think you have enough right here, right now to be a highly competitive team with Burnes and the addition of Hoskins. And I don't know if they were done adding at that point. They might be done now. I'm not sure. But I think it was a free look at your season this year with Corbin Burnes. It was sort of a free peek at the dealer's hand in blackjack. You could see both cards of your team here. And what if it was bad? Okay, then it makes it easier. Then I'm not sure that the difference between what you would have received in July, and in other words, this Hall and Ortiz here, I don't know if it would have been that much different to a potentially desperate team in July. Now, the risk is injury in April, May, and June, for sure. That there's no doubt. But would it have been that bad to see what you got? This organization already has done it once in 2011. If that season the Brewers sucked, Prince Fielder was gone at the deadline, right? You remember that. But since they so damn good, they said, you know what? Fine. If he's got to walk, he's got to walk. That's part of the pitfalls of being a small market team. So again, the theory here or the essence of what I'm saying is you got a free look at your season with Corbin Burnes, and if it didn't look or feel right and you weren't competitive, you could have moved him in July.
That's true. Let's welcome in a couple other guys. Billy and Armin have joined us here inside the breaking news coverage. Billy, what are your thoughts?
Oh, boy.
Okay, so let me just jump on what Timmy was talking about right there because I think it's a good point. But Timmy, the only difference between now and 2011 is 2021 happened. 2022, pardon me, happened as well, where you have now been in position, at least you feel, to make a push to the playoffs and then make that move. If indeed, and this is a good risk to be taking, but say you're right on the fringe of competing if they would not have made this move here today, which I think ultimately seems like a good deal from from all reports, at least at this moment, guys that can help you and get some kind of asset moving forward. But if you're right on the fringe, I don't know how much they wanted to risk the fans reacting
I
to
agree.
them having that situation come up
Could have
one
been
more
devastating.
time, where you're right there in the thick of things, and then you trade your best player.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it could have been devastating. I mean, think about. I mean, you think about Brewers fans, and believe me, I respect all Brewers fans in the state of Wisconsin. It's one of the reasons why the Brewers are special. But think about somebody, and Billy, you do the good impersonation of that guy coming from Oshkosh down on a group bus trip, you know,
Yeah.
and he hasn't been down in a couple of years. Isn't he about to say, "Well, wait a sec, what happened to that long hair? Remember that long hair guy, that lefty, the bullpen guy? And then, well, wait, what happened to Woody? Woody's out. Where's
he at?
Where's Burnes? The fans do. I agree with you that I think the fans, you have to keep them in mind. You just do. Is it an easier pill to swallow now than in July? If, as you said, you're on the cusp, for sure.
Well, and the other part of it is, and you will see it play on out, but when Matt Arnold just spoke with a couple of the beat writers, some comments are leaking on out. Todd Rosiak asked him a really, really good question towards the end of it. And he was the only one to ask if this now opens up Willy Adames to be potentially moved. What else could you possibly be looking for? And he said, at this point, everything's on the table. Whereas it was somewhat posed, you're 2 weeks away from the start of spring training. Pitchers and catchers are reporting on Valentine's Day. And Matt Arnold went with the approach of, yeah, we're not closing down any conversations with this much time left in the offseason. Very different way of thinking about that. We think we're up against the gun. They might still have a whole lot of movement going on here before they get to camp.
Well, and that's how baseball, the wild part about baseball too, is like the offseason moves so slow. So now we may be 2 weeks from camp, but also this offseason has moved so slow that these deals could all go down here in the next couple of weeks. Armin, what are your thoughts?
What's up, guys? It's a little surprising because we were getting closer to the season. I thought they might try and roll with Corbin, but that never made sense to me because you only had 1 year left of him, and you were going to risk getting nothing. But I thought, wow, they're really going to try and roll with him during the season. Maybe they didn't have Woodruff, but I just felt like I saw that. I'm like, okay, it had to happen at some point. I just thought it made no sense to not move him at some point. It just had to happen. I think moving him at the deadline would have been worse for the reasons you mentioned, Tim. What if they are in contention? Also, you get less value for him probably halfway through the season in theory. I'm not sure if it really would have changed that much. So I think it's fine. There's no chance of re-signing him. You could have played the season with him. The rest of it is moot, though. You got what you could get. I'm sure they spent a lot of time investigating the market. They got 2 guys and a draft pick that those comp B picks now can be traded, right? So that's a good thing. And I'll be honest with you, my first thought is a lot of people seem to say, why are they doing this? If they signed Hoskins, people have this duality of thought where you can only go all in or you can only tear it all the way down. And you're either building a mansion or you're gutting down a shack. And that's just not the reality of baseball. I think a lot of people still have a hard time grasping that, is you can operate in this middle ground and try and make the playoffs every year. And I think that's what the Brewers are doing. And we'll see if they can do it again. This hurts their chances this year by probably 3 or 4 wins, but it doesn't mean it's impossible, right? And I think they felt like this is a move they had to make to get any value for Burnes.
Armin, I still think it's a winnable division. There's no doubt the Brewers are talented.
There's no reason not to think it. Yeah,
right. But the real, I love overarching too. I love Matt Arnold learned that from David Stearns. David Stearns brought in overarching feel, and I like it. But the overarcher for me is, your rotation is Bill Schmid, Armin, Pipe Bomb, Hunter, and I'll be the 5 guy. I mean, they're going to have to come up with some starting pitching guys, and they're going to have some surprises there. Everyone knows what Freddie is. Freddie can step up and still have a really fine. He's a really good pitcher. Let's not downplay Freddie Peralta, Wade Miley, solid. Are you going to get 30 starts out of him? Probably not. In the 20 to 25 range would be sweet. After that, Ashby, as Pipe Bomb mentioned, I mean, there might be a Gasser sighting in there. So you do have some questions in the rotation now.
Well, in the Aaron Ashby piece, guys, and Hunter, you're down there as much as anybody. It was just so mum's the word all year long, right? Like, I don't know if anybody else was surprised that you just didn't hear anything about it. But now there's this impressive confidence from oh, yeah, he's going to be a part of this thing. We know he's going to be a part of this thing. Well, you paid him to be a part of this thing that they thought they were getting. They've now done it, and you've watched the two guys, Timmy, that, 5 years ago, after we watched these dudes both come in, similarly to how the Cardinals started bringing in young pitchers, right? Put them into the bullpen, have them get big league hitters out in high leverage spots, and then transition them into the starting rotation. They haven't really done that ever since. But then they signed the two guys that came after the two that we were fighting about which one would be better as a Brewer. I think you can finally put it to bed, and I think I finally have to pay you up on that bet now.
Right.
That Burnes was better as a Brewer than
maybe. And you wonder about Woody too, and that really is a storyline that I think has just fallen into the cracks here. That's just such a painful story. We'll cover that on the post game show for sure periodically, but man, news in Milwaukee of Corbin Burnes moving to Baltimore, and Baltimore is no surprise, guys, that the rumors of Baltimore having this prospect capital to move, and they're ready to go now, and their missing link has been their starting pitching, and they needed a stud, and they got one.
Yeah, and Tommy brings up a point here, and I think I think it was Tommy. Yeah, Tommy talking about maybe a third baseman in the trade, right? Like something because we've seen the corner positions of the infield be the weakness at times for the Milwaukee Brewers, so they would want maybe a stud at third base instead of the shortstop pitcher combination.
Well, Matt Arnold did mention in his impromptu press conference here about this trade that Ortiz is going to probably be in the mix at third base, along with Owen Miller and Monasterio and all that. So we might have a third baseman, just not a big name and a big bopper per se, but we are going to have multiple guys in the mix for that position as the roster stands currently.
I think I got an idea, Jeff, of who you want to fill that spot right away.
Who's that?
Oh, come on now. Captain of the Owen Miller fan club over there inside the studio? What are we talking about here?
You know it, the Big O, man.
Goodness gracious.
He had a good month. He had a good month.
Yeah, he did. I'm curious, Billy, just swing your camera around. What's your setting right there?
What do I got here right now? If you see what I got is a large little playpen over here. Dog sleeping in the corner. Just toys galore have taken over the entire living room. And I'm watching what is becoming a pretty ridiculous sighting out here in Nebraska where the Huskers are tied up at 65.
Oh,
what happened? They were up 16 and a half. What happened? I can't believe it.
Had a good month in the second half. He's got 22, and I think he's got 17 of those here in the second half.
Crowell and Wall have 5 shots combined. That's the thing I don't know. Crowell and Wall 5 shots combined.
Doesn't like those numbers right there.
Armin,
no, he doesn't.
You sound a little tired. Let's swing your camera on. What do you got cooking?
Yeah, I'm lying in. Hold on, let me just see if I can flip. I'm lying in bed because I'm getting up tomorrow, so I'm not going to hang out with you guys much longer here.
Don't worry, we weren't going to hang out with you much longer.
That's fine. I'm in bed. But yeah.
I was on a morning show with Zabe and Butch. Butch was in his hotel room. Zabe's telling him to make his bed. And that's how I opened my day. And now I close it seeing Arm Dog laying in his bed.
Why would anyone make their bed in a hotel room? That's their job. That's ridiculous. I mess it up on purpose. The one thing I think is funny, though, I want to say this before I get off. One more thing, Billy. I want to say this.
Sponsored by onething.org.
People talk about
business. If you want to call James Bagel right now and have your business sponsor, Armin's One Thing.
People talk about obviously this helps the Orioles, no doubt, but they won 101 games last year. How much more all in can they be, right? I mean, they won 101 games. They could win 105, 110, and still lose in the first. I'm not saying they're gonna, but the way the playoffs are now, you've got to get through these rounds where, we've seen it now time and time again. Winning 100 games in the season doesn't guarantee anything. Sub 90 win teams are the ones advancing the World Series. Not all the time, but sometimes.
You're right.
So of course, it's good to win as many games as you can, so you secure your division, secure your spot. In theory, you have a better team, but just because let's say they win 106 games next year, 101, doesn't mean their chances to win the World Series are necessarily any better.
You poured on. You poured on. Look at the
right.
the strong teams. You're relentless. You say, well, look at, they signed who now? I mean, that's what they're trying for. But I get your point. Playoffs, man, you got to step up. And we know that in Milwaukee more.
Right. And they'll have Corbin, assuming they make the playoffs. They'll have Corbin. We all saw how reliable he is in the playoffs. I hate to say it, but that's just the reality of it.
He's officially off the watch list, though, Arnold.
He's off the watch list now. I have to say he's officially off. But
all right, so Pipe Bomb, what do you? You're at work, right? So that's not going to be real interesting to our folks watching.
Yeah, no, I'm sitting in the studio, so
Okay.
They know what that looks like.
What do you got back over there with the fan beautifully majestically behind your head, like the angel you are over there?
It looks like it looks like you're a halo.
The name of the Father and the Son. Look at this man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So start up there.
Beautiful
shelves and my cockpit over here.
Nice.
All the fun working stuff and guitar stuff and then grandchildren.
There we go.
There you go.
See, now
awesome.
that used to be all guitars, and now it's a big playpen.
Yeah, I want to build a wall right in between us.
Nice.
Hunter, what do you have cooking over there?
I think Tim, you were asking all of us so you could show off your cool studio.
I don't know if it's that cool.
I think last time he showed that off, Hunter, somebody was trying to buy his.
We can feel like we're in the
vacuum
beach.
cleaner.
That's right. That's right. Last time Billy and I did a show from this room right here, someone offered us money for the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
So what do you have?
Right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, show your palatial estate there, Hunter.
I did. Did you miss it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we missed
it. There's not anything to show. That's the thing.
Well, boys, this was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Good start up. Now, luckily, we'll be able to fire these things on up. And now, Timmy, are we just going to keep this as a direct line for us to get on into the post game?
Yeah.
That sounds like
this is new to me, all this video stuff. I'm not a big fan of it. So, as you know, I'd rather just do the microphone and go old school and radio only. But yeah, I'll do what I got to do. Yeah.
Well, hey, the most important thing is we get more Timmy Allen content. That's the number one important thing. And you'll have overtime now to deal with for the Badgers. They're in overtime. It looks like here.
Okay, perfect. Now
right?
Again, Brewers fans, just and I got to show some patience too. I just do. I just give you my initial reaction here was I'm not particularly pleased with it, but I do know in the backdrop here that you got to show some patience on trades, and maybe this will all work out for a good reason.
Timmy, it's weird to see Baltimore Oriole fans convincing themselves that they got the right end of the trade. That gives me quite a bit of confidence, because if your team acquires the star and you're struggling to see if it's a good trade for you, that makes you feel pretty good on this end. There's a lot of people that are really, really high on Hall and Matt Arnold, clearly what he did in the playoffs, but we know what they like to do. They like to handpick dudes, find one or two traits and maximize that. And a guy that's got a 4-pitch arsenal, you would think that he's more of a reliever. But you never know. A lot of those young guys start developing, getting big league hitters out. Maybe he does start stretching out into the full rotation.
Well, Brewers have, I think, the ace in the hole, which is that pitching lab, man. We turn those boys out like they're, White Castle hamburgers, man. Boom, 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 boom. Something about that pitching lab. It's special. I don't know. I hope it continues to work for us. So
White Castle or Big Star down there.
Dude, I guess you're right down there. I don't know. I haven't really been there.
Like the spot over there, Timmy. Just
I went
to left and right.
Well,
I had an Italian beef at Stan's place tonight with Ty. Yeah.
Yeah, boy, that's what I'm talking about.
wait a minute. I need to get one of those.
Yeah, you do.
That sounds pretty good.
I just saw Bob comment this, and I thought it was interesting. Young team work for the Packers. We all knew Burnes was out of here after this season. So hey, it's even more youth movement. It's already going to be a youth movement, and we've talked about that. But it's even more of it. And hey, you get that young energy. Look at what the Diamondbacks did last year.
Well, and around baseball, I was just about to say, guys, around baseball, look how fast these guys are coming through their respective pipelines for their organization. They are moving guys quicker than we've ever seen historically. I mean, it's just taking some of these. Look at the Brewers first rounder from this past season. Brock Wilkin ended up at AA.
AA ball. Yep.
So they are moving them. So I guess the youth movement isn't as bad. And Armin will come full circle with your initial point that, you can do both, but the youth movement is maybe minimized. The shock of that is minimized because some of these players can hold their own at a young age.
No doubt. I mean, that's a good point. I'm just looking at Joey Ortiz's minor league stats. He had a pretty good year in AAA. And I think this, the Brewers committed themselves to Chourio as well. That's the direction. I mean, that's what's happening. So people want to make it about the Brewers spending money all the time, right? They pick and choose their spots. They gave money to Reese. They gave money to Chourio. What might not be the money you want, but they're picking and choosing their spots. So,
well, Frelick, Mitchell, Chourio, Tyler Black, now Joey Ortiz. Okay, of those 5 guys, their strength in numbers, they all have a chance. And I'm not going to predict any one of them. My favorite is Garrett Mitchell. I mean, I make no bones about that. But I'm just saying, of those 5, if 2 of them hit their ceiling, they're in great shape.
Where's Garrett Mitchell playing this year, Timmy?
I know. I'm hoping in the big leagues at this point they keep stacking young players in there.
Well, think about all the guys now. I mean, we're talking about all the young Frelick, Mitchell, Weimer, and all these guys. I mean, there's so many guys,
Yeah, I mean, people are asking, like, who's next? Adames, Yelich, Williams. Obviously, Devin Williams and Adames are the next big name expiring contracts. And Yelich is still got a lot of years left on his. So I don't think that's going to be the case, but they do have a plethora of outfielders. But Yelich, I don't think is going anywhere.
So here's what's going to happen. Just when I'm convinced they're going to keep Willie Adames into the 24 championship season, they'll move him. So until once I'm like, yeah, all right, just like I was with Burnes. It's like, come on, baby. You got Rhys Hoskins, you got Corbin Burnes, you got Freddie Peralta, you got Wade Miley. Look at that, you got a stacked bullpen. Let's go. Oh, then they trade Burnes. Okay, now I'll get over that. Then it'll do the same thing with Adames. I think that's where everyone's going, man. I think,
it just makes too much sense.
That one would hurt me, though. I really, that's one guy I've always wanted the Brewers to keep investing in because I think Adames' value is underrated a little bit.
Is he?
But it might.
Is he affordable?
That's the question. I mean, what's his market? What's the money going to be? And will he sustain the value?
Yep.
I mean, because then you're talking about, I don't want to say rebuilding, but you lose Burnes and Adames, that's like 8 wins, right? If you consider like both before war guys, I mean, that's just going to knock you out of there probably. But
how many wins are you contributing to the manager as well in this?
That's the other question. That's really a variable. We really don't know that. We can't measure that.
If you're already axed out, say 6 wins, which is more than just about any player that you're having in baseball.
Right.
That's an astronomical number for one season. You're already looking at a team that's under the 80.5 win total.
That's a good point.
In Vegas. So
and now Mike Heller won your bet.
And Timmy, this is the other part of the Reese deal, which I don't like to bring up, but it is a good fact of it for the Brewers. That if they are in a position where they're 6 games out come July 24th, you can then flip him and you just bought yourself capital in the minor leagues.
But that opt-out would still be intact, though, to whoever trades for him.
True. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you could, I get your point. You could at least get something because he would be affordable at, what would it be, a $4 million? I think it's a total of $16 million for this first year. If he opts out, there'd be a $12 million salary and a $4 million buyout. If he opts out, I think that would be affordable. Just cut that in half, and another team probably
Big
would
time.
give a decent prospect for Hoskins for sure.
Especially when it seems like it's always relief pitching, and relief pitching is always coveted at the deadline. But I feel like over the last couple of years, power has been what you're trying to buy because you can find more ways to get guys out, but trying to hit the ball over the fence is still what everybody's trying to figure out and trying to find ways to do.
Off Spencer Strider too, and I mean clutch, big home runs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's still plenty of guys left. Don't. I mean, like this offseason, still unsigned guys, right? You never know what could happen with this team.
Well,
Well,
watch for a
but
veteran
I
pitcher.
agree. But Matt Arnold did say, and he goes, we invested in Jackson Cheerio and Reese
Yeah.
Hoskins. It was one of those where
Maybe they'll swoop in.
We do have support from ownership, though. Don't worry, we have.
I
Support
still
from
think
ownership.
there's a veteran pitcher coming aboard. There'll be a veteran starting pitcher. I mean, Joe Ross is one, but I think they'll go get another one, guys.
Yeah,
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
That quote that you were just talking about, Billy, was he said twice within a paragraph, twice within a couple of sentences, we've had incredible support from ownership to go and invest in our ball club. We've always had support and the ability from ownership to do those things at the appropriate time.
Mm-hmm.
So for all the people that are upset at ownership, I mean, Arnold is saying that, and I tend to believe him, to be frank. But
well, you guys are looking super tonight.
Thank you, Timmy. Thank you.
You're looking majestic over there, and
That's
I'm
always.
looking off here because it appears that Nebraska is going to beat Wisconsin. So
I can't believe this. I can't believe what's going on here.
Yeah, this is brutal. So I'm gonna have to lick my wounds and start taking some people down in PS5 here for a couple of minutes.
Do your thing, Billy.
Yeah,
Boys, I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna have to get up, so I'm gonna say goodbye, boys.
I got a piece of chocolate cake screaming my
That's what I'm talking about, Tim Allen.
Yes.
all right.
Billy, I gotta watch little Chris Hansen's and go to bed, man. You know what I'm saying? That's how we
Only
relax.
way to relax. Only
See
way
you,
to
boys.
relax.
All right,
All right,
thanks, guys.
See ya.
Join us 6 to 6 tomorrow on the game.